All right, intro to yearbooks. So you guys are now student journalists, and that comes with a big responsibility. But the first thing we want to ask ourselves is, what do journalists do? Well, they report on the news. The second question should be, what makes something worthy of reporting on? What makes something newsworthy? And so because you are now student journalists, we are going to carefully consider what we should include in the yearbook, because maybe it's something that is not newsworthy and we want to keep it newsworthy. So the first thing that makes news is its timeliness. The word news means exactly that, things which are new. So if it happened a few weeks ago, a long time ago, it's not necessarily news. Now, see my little asterisk down here. We are the yearbook, therefore we cover a whole year of news, not just a daily, weekly, or even monthly publication. And so for us, anything that is new within that year would be timely. The next element that makes news, and these actually kind of combine two, are significance and impact. What significance means is the number of people affected by a story. And so they're different because impact is the people involved in something. So significance would be like a plane crash that killed hundreds of people. People are affected by a plane crash. And the more people affected, the more newsworthy. This also kind of helps you understand newspapers and television news as to like why they report on certain things and not others. Impact would be people involved, and the more people involved in something makes it more newsworthy. So, a 23-car pileup on the highway, a lot of people are involved in that. But you can see how also a lot of people are affected by that. So that's why significance and impact kind of go together. But basically, the more people involved in something, affected by something, the more newsworthy it is. And that's very true with the yearbook because we want to cover as many students as possible. Consequence. So if the impact of an event directly affects our readers, which are your guys' fellow students, then they want to know about it. So if there was something that happened that had a big consequence for the students of Lee Summit West, that would be considered newsworthy. Proximity. What this means is location for the most part, but it's a little bit more than that now in our digital world because we know that social media and technology really kind of spans physical location. So really the question that we ask with this is, how is West affected or involved? So, if there is a bill that's being passed in, the Michigan, Senate, House of Representatives, do we report on that? Well, probably not, unless somehow students from West are affected or involved. So think about that. We really always want to relate it back to our readership, which are our students. Prominence. What this means is famous people get more coverage. So many times I'll be watching a news story on TV, let's say, and I'm like, why is this news? Why is Kim Kardashian news? Well, she's famous, and that's just kind of the short of it. I said, if you break your arm, it won't make the news. Sorry, but if the Queen of England breaks her arm, it's big news because she's famous. And so people just want to hear about famous people. So for example, to kind of put it in terms of yearbook here, a guest speaker at our school probably wouldn't resonate with most people unless it's like a really famous speaker, say Justin Bieber, or, even less famous than that. But just, run-of-the-mill people don't make the news as much as famous people. Whether that's right or wrong, that's just kind of part of it. Human interest. What this means is this kind of breaks some of the newsworthy rules. These are just special emotional stories because people like to see that. People like to see the emotion, and it could be happy emotion, it could be sad emotion, but these are those kind of sometimes maybe like quirky stories that don't really fit in a newsworthiness category, but we know that people would like to hear them, read them. Oddity. This is similar to human interest in a way that it's just something super weird, super unusual, shocking, or bizarre. My example here for you guys is Octomom. This was kind of before your time, but this woman had, she had like 4 kids, I think, and then she got pregnant again with octuplets, okay? She carried 8 babies. and everyone was just like, whoa. So oddity can be newsworthy. Conflict, and I think this is maybe the last element of newsworthiness, but people are interested in disagreements, whether it's healthy or not. I mean, just log into social media and people are interested in conflict. And so it's just human nature. I have an asterisk down here. Yearbook is not the place for super hardcore controversy, but we can address some controversial topics if we feel necessary. Our goal really, though, is just to kind of record the history of that year and tell students stories. Okay. Extremes. There was more than I thought. Extremes are just like the first blank, the best blank. For example, like the highest ACT scores. In one year, we actually did a spread on that. We had 3 students who scored a perfect ACT score. Of course, we covered that because that is amazing. Think, major record breakers in sports, things like that. So extremes are also newsworthy. All right, guys, that is the last of this slideshow. And that's just kind of to give you an overview because you guys will eventually start thinking about topics to cover in the yearbook. And so now what kind of newsworthy stories we want to cover.